Hey, welcome back to the Special Interest Podcast. I'm Mary Stout, your host, and I'm here today with Faith Rivera, a local politician for Wyandotte County. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Faith Rivera. Some people call me Radical Rivera. Uh, I'm considered a radical because of my radical views and my ability to just show up, show out, and inform the community of information in Wyandotte County.
It seems to be a lot more than what Democrats could be held accountable for. So yeah, something sensible and progressive seen as radical. I mean, that in and of itself speaks volumes. So how did you get into this position? What brought you to this sort of action? I mean, everyone talks about change, but so few people are like, you know what? I'm going to be a politician. What brought you?
Wow. So what brought me? I never thought in a million years I'd be running for state representative in District 37 or anywhere actually. What started me out was my children were little and we lived in a community in Rosedale over by KU Medical Center, and the commissioner that we had when she ran, she promised us curbs and sidewalks, and so she asked us, my family, if we would petition, go door knocking and get petitions to so that we could get curbs and sidewalks, because there was this money that came available. And so me and my family did, and we knocked on doors a summer and stuff like that, got her the petitions, and we got the kudos and stuff like that. Well, as my children grew up, we didn't get curbs or sidewalks. So that neighborhood still to this day, my mother still lives in that neighborhood in Rosedale over by TA Edison. Still no curbs or sidewalks in that area.
And that's so just the curbs and sidewalks.
Yeah, just the lack of just seeing, that this commissioner was like promising this, and for years upon years you see your kids, you see kids in the community walking in the streets to go to school, and then you're driving the street and you have to stop because you want the kids not to get hurt, and then it's snowing outside and they've got like these piles of snow drifts, and you're just like, and mind you, it's Wyandotte County where we have kids that that the parents can't afford snow boots, can't afford winter coats and stuff like that. So you see these little kids jumping in snow drifts and stuff like that with just like tennis shoes on and stuff, and you're just like, why didn't she follow through? So I got angry enough and I just started getting engaged. My kids got older and stuff like that, and fortunately I don't have a loved one, a partner or anything like that, or a mate. So I kind of consider politics as my boyfriend. So we have a love-hate relationship. We break up sometimes and then we come back together. But that's the first that started it. It got me to getting wanting that commissioner out of office, and making sure, asking people to run and finding people. So that was the start.
It seems like the establishment's version, especially the left establishment's version of hopes and prayers, is just vote harder, right? And when you do all of the things that they were supposed to do, it's like, oh well, we were blocked by Republicans, or oh well, vote harder next time to get these people out of office and maybe something will get done. And we have all of these taxes going towards the roads.
Right.
They're not going to the sidewalks, obviously.
Right.
It's going into the pockets of the police officers and the police officer union, and seeing that is also frustrating. And I know we've talked quite a bit about that sort of thing. So what is your plan of action to tackle that issue in your community?
Tackle the issue of police officers, or of the money that's going to the police officers?
I should probably say maybe the money that's going to the police officers, because it feels like every time we feel that hey, we should reallocate these funds, they throw a fit. The police officer union throws a fit. They'll strike, or whatever. They stop doing their job as if they were doing a fun enough job to have billions thrown at them.
Well, what we really need to do is we need to get, and what I do I'm just I'm just a one person, little army, I'm just a little flamethrower, as some people call me. And what I like to do is, unfortunately, we get shitty. I can say shitty, right?
Yeah, you can say shitty.
We get shitty candidates, like in mayor races and stuff like that. And so what we really need to do is we need to educate our communities about this, because the communities don't know that more than half of our, what the percentage of our tax base goes to what's that, public service, because that we've got police officers, and don't forget the fire department. I mean, if you look at the information, there was a Mayor Holland, who is now running, I believe he's running for Senate, and or maybe I'm not really sure, but he's running for office. And when he was a mayor, he came out and was like, hey, we need to talk about these, the fire department. Like, the fire department's getting a lot of the money, and guess what? They're only working like they're only working 2 days, but they're getting paid for all of this time. So we need to, like, educate each other, because what's happening is, who are police officers? Police officers have time and time again been, their dad was a police officer, their mom was a police officer, their uncles were a police officer, and it's going down and down the line. Where where we need to do is, where we can stop it, is getting candidates that will say, hey, you know what, we believe that the police officer budget is a problem. We need to start having those conversations with candidates to ask them, hey, what are you going to do? Just like you have. Unfortunately, I don't have any say on those. That would be like a mayor and the commissioner.
Right.
And so that's what we need to talk about, is that we need to get mayors and commissioners in that represent us, that understand what it's like to struggle. We need these candidates to understand where we're at, and be on our side, to know what it's like to hustle, to be degraded, to be felt like you're the criminal when you're the victim. I mean, I could talk about times and times in Wyandotte County where I've called the police and I've been victimized. I mean, we just had that conversation about, I had a traffic stop, and in 2008, and I found out a couple months ago that traffic stop was turned into as a DUI, and it hindered me for a little bit, a few months ago, for me getting my pharmacy tech license from the KBI. And let me let you know, I've worked for the IRS, I've worked for the post office, so my fingerprints were done previously, before after 2008. So we really need to talk about, this within the community, and make it a known issue, a community issue.
Like, do you think you're the first brown person they've probably ever done this to? Like, this goes into a systematic issue. It's not just a matter of, like, at this point, going from police, sure, but also the gerrymandering going into those, the gerrymandering, the infrastructure, or lack thereof, and the police profiling all goes into this. There's a severe lack of privilege acknowledgement, because so having grown up in places like Chicago and Indianapolis and things like that, these neighborhoods where the gentrification ends and the poverty begins is a very clear line.
Exactly.
You can see exactly where these mayors and where these commissioners stop giving a shit. And it's usually when the street gets brown.
Exactly.
And these same police officers will do, I'm not going to say like do the bidding, but let's be honest here, the police aren't here to protect us. The police are here to enact the will of their superiors. And their superiors are getting, like the chief of police or the sheriff or whatever, are getting their orders from the mayor and the people with executive order. And when they need, I want to say, some kind of city income, or they want to avoid some kind of accountability for not putting some kind of infrastructure plan or something into that, they'll just go over there, police them, to control the peasants. I just, it's so frustrating seeing all of these things slowly fitting together, and then they be denied by the very people who benefit from the enacting of such policies. I might be trans, but I'm in a well-off neighborhood, and I'm first and foremost white. I mean, I've experienced that kind of police neglect, but at least they come when I call
Right.
them.
and they don't call you, and you don't get, they don't treat you like, why are you calling, like act
Yeah.
like, you like, why are you calling me, like I mean, we get that all the time, like, and it's sad, like our one of my a few months ago, well, probably about, I'd say about a year ago, a house that we were getting ready to move out of, we were moving out of it, and people watch, criminals watch, and yes, we believe our house got, the house that we were leaving got the doors kicked in. So, I was meeting with a state representative from Johnson County to meet and have dinner, and I get the call from my roommate. Hey, at 5 o'clock in the evening. Hey, our house, the house was kicked in. Somebody robbed the house. Luckily, not a lot was stolen because it was mostly moved out. But we called the cops at, like, right then and there at 5 o'clock. Let me tell you, they did not show up until 3 a.m. the next morning. And you're just like, what? Like what? And like,
you
were
12 hours late.
Yeah, we weren't even at the house. Like, we didn't even know what to do. We didn't even board up the house. We had, we couldn't do anything. We were just like, and then when we said it's like 3 a.m, that happened at 5, they were like, well, guess what you can do? You can walk into to one of the police departments and to one of the stations and make a report. Well, how come you didn't tell us that in the beginning? Because then we didn't have to wait for hours and hours and hours upon hours. So see, that the lack of compassion that the police have for us as community members is needs to change. And instead of bringing like, they'll have committees, or they'll bring in committees and stuff like that, but they're bringing committee members that don't have that. What I feel, this is my thoughts, that I feel that they don't impact the community. Like, we need more community members to be on these committees. We need committees that represent the community, the neighborhoods and stuff like that. So instead of bringing well, I know so and so is a nice ally, well, let's bring them in. No, don't bring your allies in. Bring the community in.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I've always said, you could judge a society based on how well it treats its minorities, and so on top of the lack of infrastructure, they're also suppressing, people like you and people in those neighborhoods with, lack of job opportunity. It's like, well, okay, well, everyone's got the opportunity. Well, not when you have a fucking DUI that's got slapped on you, and you can't afford to get a lawyer to fight that. And they'll tell you to get a lawyer.
You're right.
And they expect you to not be able to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so these same people, these same elites that tell us we need to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps, and that McDonald's workers don't deserve $15 an hour, they're paying the least deserving individuals the most money, and we deify it as a society. Well, the thin blue line,
right.
all that fancy horseshit. And every time a group of people come together and, like, okay, hey, we would like to govern ourselves, it gets smashed.
Right.
Like, I know we've discussed before, the very same party that's supposed to stand for the people, to stand for the community, like us, that blue party of equality and equity, are the same exact party that will become masterminds to squashing progressive
ideals.
Well, ideals, but efforts.
Efforts. There we go.
Progressive efforts. And then when it comes to the Republican or a conservative, both fiscally or socially, they crumble at the first little bit of pressure. And I think that is going to be one of the biggest systematic hurdles that we'll have to face, is the hearts and minds of the people within Wyandotte, as well as greater Kansas City as a whole.
Now let me tell you, the Democratic Party, I'm a Democrat through and through. I've been a precinct leader. I go to the Wyandotte County Democratic meetings in Wyandotte County, and it's sad because as a person that's inside, that is sitting here, is deemed Radical Rivera, and is sitting here, fighting for the community. My issue is with the with things is that the party will listen to me, and they say, oh, I want to hear what you have to say, Faith. How can we get more minorities? How can we get more minorities to vote? How can we get more minorities to vote? Or how can we get more Hispanics, or engaged, and blah blah blah, this and that. Well, first of all, you want to listen to what I have to say, but you won't listen. Meaning
Apply.
that they won't exactly
stop shutting down the voting machines in the Hispanic areas. Let's start there.
Right.
Let's start there.
Or let's first of all let's how about their language? Like, let's put information in Spanish. Like that should be like a given. Like,
You know what kills me is every time I'm met with the whole, oh well, I wish they would speak English better. It's like, America does not have an official language. We don't have an official religion.
Right.
It's not up to if you can't understand them, fucking learn Spanish.
Exactly. Exactly.
Spanish.
I will tell you, I'm a pharmacy tech, and I am 14th generation Mexican American. Like, my family has come over here from Spain, and we've drafted that out. Shout out to my cousin Jimmy Martinez in California for doing that back to 1600s, And so I don't know Spanish, but let me tell you this: I don't sit here and get upset about it. What I do is I grab my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Most phones have Google Translator, or download a translating app. I mean,
Duolingo.
if you're or
like Duolingo, you can sit 10 minutes a day and you'll be conversational in Spanish by the end of the month.
Yeah. And that's where we need to be, is we need to be more compassionate instead of pointing fingers at the fact that they can't. We need to jump over that hurdle and say, well, we need to communicate better, and to communicate better, we have to find ways to communicate better. And like I said, like you said, Duolingo, translator apps. And just try and sometimes you even get somebody nearby who can help you translate as well. But when you show up and you show that that willingness to put in that effort, let me tell you, that community member is so much more grateful to you than you just sitting there and being like, well, sorry, I don't speak Spanish. You're out of luck. Sorry.
Well, come out and vote for us, and maybe we can get some Spanish.
Right. But let's be compassionate. That's what we need to start talking about, is compassion in our communities, is showing the empathy and the compassion, because even they want what we want. We want to have a happy life. We want our families to live happily, and we want to go on and prosper. That's the American dream. That's what the American dream is that we all prosper, and our kids prosper, and that we all live civilly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think the biggest advice here for Wyandotte, if you do get the Hispanics to vote for you, maybe give them the fucking curbs and sidewalks they asked for. Maybe we could start there,
right? Because or then you'll end up with somebody like me, somebody irritated, somebody angry, somebody so upset enough that with everything that's happened in my community, and I'm thankfully my children are grown and stuff like that. Or you're gonna get more people like me that are gonna, and actually we are seeing it. We're seeing more people are getting engaged and involved in the community than more than ever, because we see the disparities, and we see the disenfranchised, and we see how they look at us and how they treat us. And it's time for us to say, you know what, we need to unite, especially right now with Roe versus Wade. Like, let's talk about that. Like, we as women are now insignificant to our leaders. We are insignificant. We are no longer valued. I feel that, and that's sad. And with that being said, we are uniting. We are having conversations. We are we are taking these conversations to each other's houses, to podcasts, and we're educating others about our situations, so that people can, it will change the people's views. And because once you see somebody like me and see somebody like Rachel, you know, this puts a face to the issues.
And it's like it's one thing to treat it. There's so much concern with upkeeping the status quo that we seem more like a loud minority rather than a majority whose tolerance is constantly wavering. And it's like they would rather continue to press on the issue that this loud minority is angry about to maintain the comfort of the status quo than to do anything of actual substance. We just had Hillary Clinton, the 2016 Democratic presidential nominee, say that trans rights should not be the Democrats' priority. So right after women lost the ability to govern their own bodies, we're now going to move on to the LGBT community. Now, this is no surprise to me because she's been against gay marriage all the way up until 2015, but they're not going to stop with Roe versus Wade.
Right.
They're not going to stop there. They're going to move on. They're already thinking about making a draft to overturn the court hearing for gay marriage and anti-sodomy laws. So if you're intimate in any way, straight or gay, it will affect you. It's an implementation of theocratic fascism, and there's a lot of people that are unwilling to call it what it is. And because of this unwillingness to address issues that go against the status quo, you have angry people like myself that will go out to the street with rifles and gas masks and signs and march and scream. And how much more civil unrest do you think it will you could press for before you realize that, hey, maybe we should do the thing that these people are screaming about? How awful do the conditions need to get before not to divert from that status quo, especially one that's so obviously, so blatantly, so in your face racist?
Right.
What is it? Back in 2016, it's funny that you mentioned the how do we get Hispanics to vote? The very same party that shut down 600 voting sites, primarily in Hispanic neighborhoods in Texas, because Bernie was popular with Hispanics.
Right. And most people will know that I'm a Bernie lover. And my roommate, my roommate and treasurer was a Trump supporter. And, I get it all the time. I'm like, I get well, it's your president. It's your president. Well, to some of us, it's not our president. It's not somebody I voted for. I wrote in Bernie Sanders, because of the fact that it did not sit well with me with the Clarence Thomas case. Remember when they were at the Senate, on the Senate floor, and they had the interviews and stuff like that.
Right.
I remember that as a child, and I just I remember it as a child, and you can't forget how this woman, this minority strong woman, just strong woman, and you saw her, and then how it was just I felt that she was attacked by Biden, and I feel that I'm sure other people felt the same way with the questionings and stuff like that in his comments. But what we need to remember too is that this is not all of our doing. Like, some of us have been strong and said, hey, you know what, I'm on this side. But what we're going to do is we're going to try our best to swallow everything. I mean, we had to swallow it with Trump. Yeah. We had to swallow it with Trump. But but we got to do better. We need more candidates out there that are we need the party to have better candidates. Stop giving us shitty ass candidates. Give us better candidates. So support better candidates. They might not be your favorite people
or electable.
Right, exactly. They might not be your people, but guess what? They're the people's people. They're the people's candidates. And that's where you need to start thinking about, is the people. If you want people to get engaged, well, you got to make them get engaged. And you can do that by by backing candidates that are good for the community, such as myself and Justice Horn, are some of the over here in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm really excited about his race. He's a really great guy. He is also too. We're going to say this. He's an ally of Kansas City, Kansas. He comes over our side of the bridge, or our side of the state line, and helps support and because he has a lot of support over there, he's like, Faith, I don't need your, you do Kansas City, Kansas, and that's great, because they see their importance, and they know that their social media, their background, or their backings, or their social platforms can assist Kansas City, Kansas, because Kansas City, Kansas, as we were speaking about the gerrymandering, we are and my daughter's a redhead, so I'm going to say this, that we are the redheaded stepchildren. So I have a redheaded daughter. She's a ginger. We are the redheaded stepchildren of Kansas. We show up. You ask us to show up, and we show up. We show up all the time. But when we ask for people to show up for us, when we ask our leaders to show up, they don't show up. We don't have the same respect. So now what has happened is, now I was the lead plaintiff on the gerrymandering case, Rivera versus Schwab. I was on the Loud Light. Shout out to Loud Light, and Davis Hamlet and all his crew with Loud Light. That has taken our stronghold away from us. We are now, our voices and our votes were now are watered down, and it's appalling. It hurts because why didn't we have anybody to back us? Why didn't anybody stand up and say nope? Why was there not more leaders within our community and outside the community that stood up for us and said, you know what, we can't do this, we can't handle this, instead of writing letters saying that the gerrymandering isn't a issue, it's not racism or anything like that. And I was at the meetings, and I was at the hearing. It was. I mean, the first talk about, it's just sad. It's just sad that we're here, that Wyandotte County is always abused. And I think now that they're going to see, the Democratic Party is about to see that that Wyandotte County is done. Like you don't have Wyandotte County anymore. You can't call on us anymore. You can't do that, because we're split, and you allowed it to happen.
Oh, it's frustrating, just to say the least. It's if your concern as an American citizen is job security, or these politicians or these elites not looking out for you, you have the opportunity to change that. The Republican Party is not the party of workers. The Democratic Party, they no offense to your party, but they're not the party of workers. They're not the party of the people. The president isn't going to be the start of your communal change. It's going to start in your community.
Preach.
If you want someone to stand up for the workers in your community, you need to show up for your community. The gerrymandering in every state, in every county throughout the United States, disproportionately favors right-wing voters, and right-wing voters don't have black people, Mexicans, and gay people in mind. Let's be real here. It was Republicans that overturned Roe versus Wade. It was Republicans that fought against gay marriage. It was Republicans that are now drafting trans rights bills that are specifically to take rights away from people like me. If that sickens you, then show the fuck up and stop it.
And by showing up, we mean vote.
Yes,
we mean
yeah.
vote.
Yes,
Vote.
yeah.
By showing
Yes.
up, that means voting every election. The primary is in August, and then the general is in November.
Write letters.
Yeah.
Write letters. Show up. So like you were saying, like
Yeah.
nobody was out there to show support for you during the gerrymandering case. They should have been.
Right. Right. There was no. It was. You know, people showed up and had pins and stuff, but there was no protest. There wasn't anything. You know, and it was in. You know, we'll say it's in February, but still, if once you get engaged and once you start feeling this, once you start feeling engaged and getting engaged, you're going to start feeling something with inside. You're going to feel this like validation of who you are. And, you know, you're going to feel validated as a community member, as a Kansan, as an American, as a Missouri. Are they called Missourian?
I don't know. I don't know.
As a community member here in Missouri. How was that? But once you start feeling that, then that's exactly what happened to me. And so, you know, get engaged. And being engaged means going to commission meetings, going to your planning and zoning meetings, going to BPU meetings, going to your parks and recs meetings, going to school board meetings. You know, pick something. And I'm going to let you know too, you don't even have to go. You just have to watch it on YouTube. They got YouTube channels for this. And getting engaged and knowing what's going on in your community is only going to better the community, because then guess what? You can't complain, or you can't say you don't know that, hey, they just put these hideous, big, huge utility poles in Argentine to send power, to electrical power to KU Medical Center. You know, people didn't know about that, but you know, there are meetings that they're having behind that are public meetings that you can go to, that you can listen to see what they're voting for. And you can, you might not be able to ask questions, because that's why I get told to shut up, because I try and ask questions. But you know what? You can reach out and ask them to reach out to you. And if they don't reach out, well, guess what? That leader's not your leader, because if they're not responding to you, and they're not communicating to you, or you're not getting a response, then you know what that type of leader is. That's the leader that you don't need. That's the leader that you need to say, hey, guess what? We need to find somebody to run against you. We need to find somebody to take over, because guess what? You're not for the community. You're not for the people. You're for yourself and for whoever you're in the meetings with that you talk to. You're for your bubble. And you know what? You need to pop that bubble and make sure you know that, hey, your bubble just got popped, boo. You got a pop bubble.
That's not a leader. That's a tyrant.
Exactly.
That is a fucking tyrant.
Exactly.
That is a kinglet. Well, I want to kind of wrap things up on that note. Like I was saying, I'm gonna say it again. The state of your community doesn't start with the president, doesn't start with SCOTUS, doesn't start with Senate, doesn't start with Congress. It starts in your community. I'm Rachel Mary Stout. This is the Special Interest Podcast, and I support Faith Rivera for office.
District 37, Turner, Argentine, and Armourdale. Thank you.